third Tuesday. So I just want to first start off by thanking everyone who's in the room, not just the ladies who are in the room who showed up for our Women in Tech Meetup, but also all the males in the room who said, I know it says Women in Tech, but I'm going to still come out and show the ladies love. So thank you guys for being here tonight. But I said a lot, and tonight is not about me or really any of all of those things that I said. Tonight is about meeting and hearing from a special woman, Miss Ariana the Techie. Yeah. Ariana the Techie is a 3-time tech founder, right? She's a full-stack software engineer and a product leader with over 15 years of experience building and scaling tech. At just 26, she became one of the first Black women to raise over $3 million in the blockchain industry in under 90 days. Her background spans engineering roles at companies like General Electric and NASA-backed programs, as well as building startups across industries including tech, cannabis, and digital marketplaces. So I need y'all to know, this is the one who we want to tap into. So Ariana, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Awesome. All right, guys, so we're going to get right into this talk because I've got some questions, everyone. So looking back now, how do you think about the difference between a reckless risk and a strategic risk to just bet on yourself?
Ooh, that's something really good. Dave, you say you're going to pose the question. Yes, so it is true. Most people, they assume that I have a college degree, but I actually dropped out of college after sophomore year. So technically, I had like 60 credits, but I took off some time to do like internships. And then once I got all those, and I had more internships than the seniors, I was like, I'm gonna just figure this out and just do a different route. I think dropping out of college as a first-gen college student, coming from inner city Atlanta, Georgia, where I would have been the first person to get it that far in college and the first person to, if I would have graduated, would have been the first person to graduate. I think the strategy was that I was just very passionate because I could see the industry was like changing even back then. I think my strategy at the time was just, I have to make it, which is also reckless, right? Because, that can cause you to like quit your job tomorrow and just be like, I'm gonna go figure this out and move to a different city. So I would say a lot of the moves that I think that I've made have actually been reckless. I think now that I've spent the last like 15 years of being, kind of reckless, and I did get into tech early. I did start at 15 years old. You're wondering like, how is this math? And she's only 30 or whatever. I would say my career has been reckless, but now I'm trying to be more strategic, I would say, definitely.
Now, you just told us that you were from Atlanta, Georgia, but you said that Miami played a huge role in your ability to even raise the capital and build momentum. For founders who feel stuck, right? Granted, we're all in this room, so we're Miamians. Well, we in Miami tonight. But if for founders who feel stuck where they are, even for me, like I relocated from New Jersey, like what are the signals that your environment might be limiting your growth?
So there are two things that I looked at before I chose Miami. One of them was Twitter. Literally, actually, like Miami Tech Twitter was really, really good and it's still very active. Like if you're somebody who like either you're from Miami and you still feel like, oh, I'm not really connected, there's so much change, like how do I tap in? Or maybe you're new, then like Miami Tech Twitter is literally your place. Like it's your place where you can reach out to the best VCs and founders in the world and just say like, hey, I would love to meet with you for coffee, and like maybe not everybody will respond, but if you do that like 2-3 times a week, which is literally what I was doing before I moved here, people will respond to you. Think about your question, which is like, how do you know if the city you're in is right for you? The other thing I did look at was like local development of the city. Like, so I knew, like you could tell, like reading the news or whatever, that Miami was like not just like hype, right? But you got to look at, are the local politicians pro the industry that you're in? And so I knew Miami was pro not only just tech, but particularly at the time was pro crypto. So it made sense for me to go move where all the other crypto bros and crypto girls were going to be. And so that's kind of how I made my decision.
When you're in rooms with investors, what are practical ways that founders can turn that proximity of being in a room into an actual opportunity?
I make it two kind of like Excel sheets. One is the archetype of the type of investor that I want. And then the second spreadsheet is like me going out and like finding the different names, first virtually, right? To Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok now. Like if you're a founder, like, you know, or maybe you have a co-founder that's really good at making content, like that's a really great way to raise rounds now. Or finding investors through like YouTube, or finding investors through like their Substacks. Like I have a lot of crazy wacky ways to like get to people. And like putting all that in Excel, and then you literally just start digitally shooting your shot. The point of my raise is that although they knew I was raising, I didn't lead with that. Like you have to be a bit more casual, because like if somebody came up to me right now and was just like, can you give me $50? And you know, that automatically puts me on the defense, because I'm like, okay, well, why do you need $50? And so now, I don't even care about your company. I'm trying to figure out why you're approaching me the way that you're approaching me. And so a piece of advice that I learned from one of my mentors, and he said, you know, good founders are always fundraising. And so if I'm in New York tomorrow, which actually we have to be in New York, but if I'm in New York tomorrow, and right now I'm not fundraising, I'm already like meeting people casually and, you know, having those conversations, warming things up so that when I'm ready to hit the tee on the ball, because I'm a golfer, then I can, you know, shoot that shot when I actually need to raise. And so I think, like, if you don't have a company, or maybe you're working on an idea and you're in the early stages, get into the rooms now where you're just meeting people. Yeah, one of the reasons why I invested in you was because I saw you on Twitter, and then I just followed you. And then I followed your story for like a year or whatever, and then by the time you came up to me, I was like, oh, I already knew who this was. And so sometimes too, being loud where your people are is important. So
Lessons from your early experiences ended up being critical for you when it came time to raise capital.
To raise. So many lessons. So many lessons. Oh my God. Well, for one, to be frank, as a founder, I really do believe this, like, there's only so much arrogance and pride, which I don't believe in, that you can really have. Like, there are a lot of people probably in this room where you think, like, you're the only one building your thing, or, like, you're the best at building your thing, and the reality is like, no, there's actually 20 other great people just like me and you that are building their thing, and you're just all in a race to get there to see who's gonna post it faster on TikTok. Like,
Talk a little bit about the importance of direct conversation, and I'm just going to assume that you maybe still think that that's the fastest way to build better products, but if I'm wrong, correct me.
No, so this actually connects back to your other question on the mistakes I made.
Okay.
Because in the past, because again, you know, I have the engineering background, I was so product focused. So if I had an idea, I'm like, I'm just gonna build it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now with AI, I'm definitely gonna build it. I'm gonna build it in 10 seconds. You know what I'm saying? That's why, you know, a lot of early things that aren't on my resume failed. They never made it to my LinkedIn. And it was because I did not have enough of those, you know, customer conversations where I'm going out and talking to people. Again, I think, you know, using AI as a tool to kind of help you quickly test things and get things out there or even develop is good, but you still need to spend time with your customer. Most founders, I'm telling you, they do not spend time with their customers. And then, let's say they do it a little bit in the beginning. Well, a couple of months have passed, you've released like 6 features, you're like, maybe your team is like going out and doing some testing, but as a founder, you should be talking to a customer every single day. And that was one of my investors, I think one of my investors for my second company, so not the last one, but my second one before that, kind of gave me that advice of, and so I would make that a challenge where it was like, I was getting on a call with at least one customer or one potential customer. Now let's say you don't have customers. I remember for my first company I built, it was in the beauty tech space. And what I would do was, because I was just like, I don't have any customers, I didn't even have a website, actually, I remember this very vividly. And I was like, okay, well, I created like this, you know, the architect profile of like, okay, who's my customer? I know it's a woman, I know she's between the ages of, you know, 25 years old and like 42 or whatever. Well, what does she do? And I did something from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So this is how I did my customer profile. And I would write out, what does she do in the morning? What does she do in the afternoon? What does she do in the evening? And the reason why is because it allowed me to think like my customer, which allows me to market like to her. It allows me to find her. So what I would do was I would pull up to Ulta. I would literally go to the mall so much, like they like would have to literally kick me out. They're like, who is this girl? She's always talking to people. But then I dress like really nice and they're like, okay, she can't be like crazy, right? You know, so they didn't like, you know, ban me from the mall. I'm still, that was the grace of God that I didn't get banned from that mall specifically because I was showing up there every day. But that's what you kind of have to do. You have to really get into the psychology of understanding who they are, understanding that profile literally from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Because if I know that she is within this demographic, she lives in this city, she makes this amount of income, that means I also know how to market you on Instagram ads. So you have to kind of take that literally basically digital marketing style and bring that into reality where you're doing that same stuff in person, even today with AI. You have to.